Hello folks, so I decided to make a video. We bought this gazebo from Costco. I believe it's Yardistry, the 14 by 12. So we purchased it, and let me tell you, great buy. Great buy. So worth it. It's beautiful, the cedar wood, it's solid. Comes with this great hardware. Looks good. Love it. No regrets, no nothing. No complaints as far as that. So it comes with everything labeled, which is great. What I suggest you do is, when you start pulling out, all the boards and all the wood and everything else out of the boxes, at one end it has numbers. It has a stamp number. I suggest you put them in order. Makes everything easier when you need to pick whatever part you need for that specific thing, right? So the bolts, nuts, screws, everything is labeled. So awesome. I laid everything out on the table, put, my little hex bolts together, and, just made everything much more simpler. What I like is when you're reading the instructions on the manual, at the very bottom of every page, it tells you what pieces of wood you're going to need, what bolts you're going to need, what screws you're going to need. It makes it very simple, right? Less complicated. So that's great. Putting the post together, that's like the first step or whatever. Easy, because the instructions are on detail. What I decided to do was watch Yardistry on their website. They had a video, an informational video. I suggest you watch it. But mind you, these people have probably built God knows how many, so they're like pros. So they make it look very easy. But mind you, I'm not saying it's not. The post, easy. Then you get to building one of the roof panels, right? So on the instructions, it tells you to build one half of the side. There's two sides, obviously, because it's like this. So it tells you to build one side at a time, obviously, but it tells you to build a portion of it. Like I said, we followed the instructions, and we did. We built the first half, and then we started attaching the second half, the second part of one of the halves of the roof. So in the end, it tells you to measure it once it's all built and you have it all put together. You're supposed to measure it, and diagonally in a cross, an X, it's supposed to be 14 by 14, right? Wasn't happening. I think one side measured at 13 1/4, something like that. Yet the other one that we measured was 14, almost 15. So I was like, what the hell? How is that even possible? We followed the instructions. We did everything right. We had our little, tool, making sure everything is squared. And everything was squared off. So what the hell? Where the hell did we go wrong? So we go back to the instructions, and it's like, okay, we did everything the way it said. Okay, let's watch the video. So we watched the video again, and yeah, we did it exactly the way they did it in the video, to the T. So then we're standing there in the heat, staring at this thing like, what the hell? Like, why isn't it measuring up, right? So, okay. The video in the book says, start taking out screws, move it around, I guess fiddle with it and try to get it to measure. The funny thing is, when we took out all the screws, we just, kind of unscrewed it and left it kind of sticking up a little, I guess, where it's not attached. So we did that. And the funny thing is, when we took it, when we unscrewed all the screws, we decided to measure it. Okay, it's 14 by 14. So we're like, what the hell? We just moved everything around, everything's loose. Like, how's this even possible? But yet when we tighten the screws, it expands it. And like, in a crazy shape. And so what the hell? So we came to the conclusion, and mind you, we did this with the second half, okay? After hello, eye opener, ding, 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 went off. Doing a portion at a time doesn't work. You know, because it tells you to lay out these, 5 boards, and then, the ones that go across, and then, you start, using a little tool, make sure everything's squared off, and if it is, drill it and put it together, right? Screw it together, whatever. Yeah, that wasn't happening, because every single time we did that and we'd measure it, it just was not happening. So we completely took out all the screws. It's like, okay, let's start all over again. But what we decided to do, instead of doing one half at a time and then doing the other half, we just did it all, okay? We put it all. We laid out all the boards, where they're supposed to go, and we measured it. It's 14 by 14. Okay, let's do the outside first. All, the corners, we did those first, okay? The corner screws we did first to hold everything in its place. And then we decided to screw the ones in the very center, and work our way out. So that's how we did it. Nope, we measure it, still off. The funny thing is, the second time around, well, actually the 15th billionth time around, when we're doing it, it just wasn't measuring up. And we're like, why is this happening? So again, took out all the screws. So what we decided to do is, after every single one we screwed and drilled in, we measured it. And, okay, so where is the problem happening? Why is it not measuring up, So we did all that. Like I said, we started from the corners, bam, measured. Perfect, 14 by 14. Did the center one, measured it, 14 by 14. Did one line, measured it, 14 by 14. Kept going, kept doing it, and it kept measuring up. So on the side, I guess it's the part where it meets at the top. There's a board that you kind of screw in, and it's slanted. We noticed that when we started screwing that one in, when we started attaching it, it was shifting it. So we were like, okay, we definitely got to do that one last. Learned our lesson. This ain't happening with the next panel. So yeah, my biggest suggestion to you guys, when you guys buy this gazebo, when it comes to that part, building the roof, obviously follow the instructions, but when it's telling you to do one part and then the next part and then put them together, don't do that. Because you're gonna put all these screws in, you're gonna, attach it, and then guess what? I guarantee, and I'm not even kidding you, it's not gonna measure up. And you could say it's not gonna happen to me, I'm gonna do it perfect, I'm gonna follow the instructions, blah, 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 but guess what? It is, okay? It's gonna happen. So my suggestion when it comes to that part of doing one part at a time, lay out all your boards for the entire panel, get all the hardware you're gonna need, put it, where it needs to be. But when it comes to the board that you put, it's kind of like slanted. I should have looked at the number to give you guys the damn number on it. But you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you get there. The part, it's kind of, when you're attaching it to the part of the roof, this one's kind of slanted. It's not straight. When you get to that one, which is the part that's going to meet up at the very top, basically the diamond part of your roof, put that one on last. Do the 3 sides, do all the center ones, do that one last, because I guarantee it's going to shift, it's going to move, and it's not going to measure up. And guess what? Even if you think, oh, it's only a ½ inch off, oh, what's the big deal? Trust me, it's a big deal, because when you put those, the panels on, it's not going to measure up. It's just not, it's not going to happen. So it literally does need to be 14 by 14. Also, we'll realize when you're measuring it from the corner to corner on that, once again, that wood that's slanted, you don't measure it to that corner. You measure it to the corner where it meets with the other wood, where they're connected. You measure it to that point where they kind of connect. You don't measure it to the very corner of that one. Then you're definitely going to get your 14 by 14. But again, that is the Yardistry, the 14 by 12 gazebo. Like I said, we got it at Costco. Great deal. It's so funny because we bought it, I think it was like $14.99, and we just so happened to go to Costco the other day and we saw it for like $200 cheaper. So of course, you know, me, you know, El Cheapo, went to customer service and totally got my $200 back. So cool. Great Costco run. But yeah, I hope this helps. You know, we watched a whole lot of YouTube videos, you know, other people building it, and everybody was like complaining, like, God, they can't get the measurements right. What the heck? Da 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 da. I tried this, I tried that, and nothing seemed to work. And you had people, I mean, cutting a piece of the board or cutting a piece of the aluminum to make it line up. You know, I mean, you had people doing all this crazy stuff to get it to line up. Like I said, after our billionth try, that's what we discovered. That panel, that piece of wood, I'm sorry, that is slanted, you definitely want to attach that last, because that is what's making it move. You don't want to do a piece at a time and then do the other piece and then put them together. You want to do the whole thing all at the same time. Lay it all out. Like I said, you lay everything out, put your boards all together and measure it. Once you have your 14 by 14, start screwing the corners. Well, not the last corners, I'm sorry. You don't want to mess with those. Like I said, and every screw, you know, once you start drilling, after every one you drill, measure. Because if it doesn't measure up in the end, you don't want to be like, okay, where the hell did we mess up? So we found it so much easier. I mean, it's a little time consuming, but in the end, worth it. Instead of working on something that could possibly take an hour or two to build, now you're 7 hours in, like what the hell? Because you just wanted to not measure, you know? So I suggest after every screw you put in, measure it, make sure you're still at 14, 14, and then keep going, keep going, keep going. At least you know if, you know, it doesn't measure up, you know where you made the mistake, you know where it shifted, you know where it moved, you know. I just found that a little bit easier. So that's just what I suggest. This is my FYI. Like I said, on the Yardistry gazebo, the 14 by 12. But yeah, hope it helps. Okay, peace, y'all.